May 3rd, 2007, a mother walks into an apartment bedroom in a Portuguese holiday resort and finds it empty. Her 3-year-old daughter is gone. The window is open, the shutters raised, and in that single moment, Kate McCann's scream pierces the warm Mediterranean night and launches what will become the most reported missing person case in modern history. But here's what keeps investigators awake 17 years later. The more they searched, the stranger it got. Every answer spawned 10 more questions. Every lead dissolved into shadow. And tonight, we're diving into the labyrinth, the human tragedy, the investigative chaos, the theories that refuse to die. Because what happened to Madeleine McCann isn't just an unsolved mystery. It's a case where the truth might be hiding in plain sight. And we've all been looking in the wrong direction. Stick with me. We're about to unravel 40 minutes of evidence, psychology, and the kind of details that haunt you long after the credits roll. Let's rewind. Picture this: Praia da Luz, a sleepy fishing village on Portugal's Algarve coast, the kind of place where British families flock for sun, safety, and sangria. April 2007, the McCanns, Kate and Jerry, both doctors, respected, middle class, arrive with their 3 children. Madeleine, nearly 4, and 2-year-old twins, Sean and Amelie. They're staying at the Ocean Club Resort, apartment 5A, ground floor. It's supposed to be the perfect family holiday. You know the kind. Kids splashing in the pool, parents finally unwinding. But think about it. How many times have you felt that false sense of security on vacation? That belief that nothing bad happens in paradise? The McCanns felt it too. They were part of a group, 7 adults, 8 children total, friends from England, all there to escape the grind. And on the evening of May 3rd, they made a decision, one that millions of parents have made, one that would haunt them forever. They put their 3 children to bed in apartment 5A around 7:30 p.m. Then they walked 200 feet to a tapas restaurant within the resort complex. The Tapas 7, they'd later be called. The group, they sat at a table where they could see the apartment block, sort of. Between them and 5A were gardens, pathways, a pool, not a direct line of sight, but close. Close enough, they thought. They'd check on the kids every 20 to 30 minutes, take turns, walk back, peek in, return to dinner. It's called the check system. And here's the thing. It wasn't unusual, not for that resort, that culture, that era. But was it safe? That's the question that splits the world in two. Some say they were negligent. Others say they were normal parents in an abnormal nightmare. What do you think? Would you have done the same? Jerry McCann checks at 9:05 p.m. All 3 children asleep, peaceful. He pulls the bedroom door slightly more closed on his way out. 30 minutes later, at 9:30, their friend Matthew Oldfield does a check. But here's where it gets murky. He doesn't go all the way into the bedroom, just glances from the door, sees the twins in their cots, doesn't actually see Madeleine in her bed, because the door's partially blocking the view, but he hears no noise, assumes all is well, returns to dinner. Think about that. A friend checking, not a parent. A glance, not a thorough look. Would you have gone all the way in? 15 minutes pass, 9:50-ish. Kate McCann stands up from the table. It's her turn. She walks the route she's walked 4 times that evening, through the garden, past the pool, to the apartment. She enters through the sliding patio door. They'd left it unlocked for easy checking. Walks down the hallway, pushes open the children's bedroom door, and freezes. The twins are there, sleeping soundly, but Madeleine's bed is empty, the covers pulled back. Her pink cuddle cat toy, Cato, sitting on the pillow, and the window, wide open, the shutter rolled all the way up, something you couldn't do from outside unless you broke the mechanism. Kate checks the wardrobe, the bathroom, under the beds. Madeleine isn't there. She runs back to the restaurant, and the words she screams become the haunting refrain of this entire case. They've taken her. Someone's taken her. Imagine that terror, the cognitive dissonance. Your child was there 40 minutes ago, and now she's just gone. Who is they? Why is she so certain Madeleine was taken, not wandered off? Keep that question in your mind. We'll come back to it. Within minutes, the resort erupts. Staff, guests, the top is 7. Everyone searches. They comb the apartment complex, the beach, the surrounding streets. Someone calls the Policia Judiciaria, Portugal's criminal investigation police. But here's the first problem, the first crack in what becomes a catastrophic investigation. The local police, the GNR, arrive first, and they don't secure the scene. Dozens of people tromp through apartment 5A, touching surfaces, moving objects, contaminating potential evidence. By the time the PJ's forensic team arrives hours later, the crime scene is compromised. Some investigators would later say, irreversibly. And that's not the only misstep. Portugal in 2007 didn't have an Amber Alert system like the US. No immediate border lockdown, no coordinated media blitz in those crucial first hours. It's estimated that about 4 hours pass before the Spanish border is alerted. 4 hours. How far could someone drive in 4 hours? All the way across Portugal, into Spain, onto a boat, into Morocco, just across the strait. The window for finding Madeleine closes, while bureaucracy fumbles the latch. But here's what makes this case so uniquely agonizing. It's not just about what didn't happen, it's about what did, and how every piece of evidence seems to point in multiple directions at once. Let's talk about the apartment. 5A, ground floor, accessible. The shutters in the children's bedroom, they're controlled from inside. To open them fully, you'd need to be in the room. But there's no sign of forced entry. The patio door was unlocked. Yes, but would a stranger know that? The front door was locked. So how did someone get in? The prevailing theory among the Portuguese police early on, through the window, the intruder entered via the unlocked patio door, took Madeleine, then exited through the window to avoid being seen using the doors. But there's a problem. The window is high. There's no physical evidence of disturbance on the flower bed beneath it, no footprints, no broken stems. Forensic experts later say it would be incredibly difficult to carry a sleeping or struggling child out through that window without leaving a trace. So maybe the intruder used the patio door to exit too. Possible, but risky, more visible. Here's another wrinkle. The McCanns say they locked the front door when they left for dinner, but Kate says it was unlocked when she returned at 9:50 to find Madeleine gone. Did the intruder unlock it from inside and leave through the front? Did someone have a key? Or, and this is the question that tore the case apart, was there ever an intruder at all? Theory 4. Accidental death covered up by the parents. The Portuguese police theory. Madeleine dies in the apartment. Maybe a fall, maybe a reaction to sedation if the parents used something to help the kids sleep, though there's no evidence of that. The parents panic, stage an abduction. This theory hinges on the dogs, the DNA, the supposed inconsistencies in the parents' statements, but it also requires the McCanns to hide a body, fool forensic teams, maintain a lie for 17 years, and convince their friends to participate or stay silent. It's possible, but it's a stretch. Theory 5. Abduction by someone the McCanns knew, a guest at the resort, a staff member, someone in the top of 7. This is the conspiracy theory. Maybe someone had access to the apartment, knew the routine, had motive. But what motive? And who? No one in the group has ever been seriously implicated beyond rumor. Theory 6. Madeleine wandered off and met with an accident or opportunistic harm. The window and door are red herrings. She woke up, left the apartment looking for her parents, and encountered someone or something. But the McCanns insist the doors were locked or closed, and Madeleine was a timid child, unlikely to wander alone in the dark. So which is it? The truth is, we don't know, and that's the agony. 17 years later, every theory has holes, every lead has dead-ended, but the investigation hasn't stopped. In 2011, the British government, under pressure from the McCanns and the public, launches Operation Grange. Scotland Yard takes over. Fresh eyes, fresh resources, millions of pounds. They review everything. 40,000 documents, 30,000 pages. They identify 600 potential suspects. They chase leads across Europe, North Africa, South America, and they find something interesting. A series of incidents in Praia da Luz. Around the time Madeleine disappeared, reports of a man entering vacation properties where British families with young children were staying. In some cases, the man sexually assaulted the children. In others, he just watched. The incidents date from 2004 to 2006. Two of them occurred in the Ocean Club complex, and then they stop. After May 2007, after Madeleine vanishes. Coincidence? Or is this the predator? The man who escalated from assaults to abduction? Scotland Yard thinks it's a strong lead. They develop a profile. They release e-fits, computer-generated sketches based on witness descriptions. One looks eerily like the man Jane Tanner described, another like Smithman, but no arrests are made. Not yet. Then, in June 2020, a bombshell. German prosecutors announce they have a new suspect, a German man, Christian Bruckner, a convicted pedophile and rapist, and they say they have evidence Madeleine is dead. Bruckner was living in Praia da Luz in 2007. He was known to burgle vacation properties. He had a van and a camper. Phone records place him near the Ocean Club the night Madeleine disappeared. He allegedly told someone he knew what happened to Madeleine, and German police find horrific evidence in his possession when they raid his property years later. Child abuse, images, videos, evidence of other crimes. The German prosecutor, Hans Christian Wolters, says publicly, "We are assuming Madeleine is dead. We have evidence, but we cannot disclose it yet." He says they're building a murder case against Bruckner. But here's the frustration. Years pass, no charges. Bruckner denies involvement. His lawyer says the evidence is circumstantial. No body, no forensic link, just suspicion and a criminal history. As of now, in 2025, Bruckner remains a suspect, but not convicted, not charged with Madeleine's disappearance. The case is open, and Madeleine is still missing. Let's step back. Why does this case haunt us? Why, out of thousands of missing children globally, does Madeleine McCann remain a household name 17 years later? Part of it is privilege, and we have to name that. Madeleine was white, blonde, photogenic. Her parents were educated, articulate, media savvy. They had resources. They had connections. The British tabloids turned her into a fixation. Other children, children of color, poor children, children without media machines, vanish without a fraction of the coverage. That's a painful truth. But there's something else. This case is a mirror. It reflects our deepest fears and our darkest judgments. We fear the randomness. That evil could snatch a child from under her parents' noses. That the world is not safe, even in a resort. even 200 feet away. We judge because judgment gives us control. If the parents were negligent, then we can do better. We can keep our kids closer. We can avoid their mistakes. It's a psychological defense mechanism, but it's also cruel because the McCanns live in a hell we can't imagine. 17 years of not knowing, of hope and despair, of being suspected, vilified, pitied. Kate McCann wrote a book. In it, she describes the guilt that eats her alive. The what ifs. What if they hadn't left the apartment? What if they'd used the resort's babysitting service? What if she'd checked 5 minutes earlier? Jerry McCann has said the same. They'll never forgive themselves, even though logically they know they're not to blame. Whoever took Madeleine, if someone took Madeleine, that person is to blame. But logic doesn't heal a parent's heart. And then there are the private investigators. The McCanns have hired several over the years, some credible, some less so. There have been alleged sightings of Madeleine all over the world: Morocco, New Zealand, Paraguay. None confirmed. There have been claims she's alive, living with a new family, unaware of her past. There have been tips from psychics, from conspiracy theorists, from well-meaning strangers who think they saw a girl with similar eyes. The McCanns chase every lead. Imagine that treadmill. Every phone call could be the one. Every email could bring her home. Or it could be another dead end. Another fresh wound. The hope is a torture. The alternative, accepting she's gone, is unthinkable. So they exist in limbo. Schrodinger's grief. Madeleine is missing, and possibly alive, and possibly dead, all at once until they know. And they don't know. What does that do to a person? To a marriage? The McCanns are still together, still advocating for missing children, still holding on to hope. Some call it strength, some call it denial. Maybe it's both. Here's what we know for certain. May 3rd, 2007. Madeleine McCann was in apartment 5A, asleep. By 10 p.m., she was gone. Someone knows what happened, whether it's an abductor who's never been caught, or someone who's died since, or someone sitting in a prison cell for other crimes, or, if the most horrific theories are true, someone who's been under suspicion all along. Someone knows, and Madeleine, wherever she is, whatever happened to her, deserves for that someone to speak. The investigation is still active. Operation Grange is still running, though funding has been questioned. The German probe into Bruckner continues. The Portuguese case, technically closed, could reopen if new evidence emerges. There are people working on this today, right now, because the alternative is unacceptable. A 3-year-old girl vanished, and the world shrugged. Except the world didn't shrug. Millions of people care. Millions of people have followed this case, shared her picture, called in tips. That's something. It doesn't bring her home, but it means she's not forgotten. And in cases like this, being remembered is a kind of justice, not the justice we want, but the justice we can give. So where does that leave us? 17 years later, we're standing in the same spot Kate McCann stood at 9:50 p.m. on May 3rd, 2007, looking at an empty bed, an open window, and 1,000 questions with no answers. If Madeleine is alive, and some investigators believe she could be, now in her 20s, does she know who she is? Has she seen her own face on the news? If she's not alive, does someone walk around carrying the secret of where she is? What they did? And if it was an accident, a cover-up, or a stranger abduction that was never meant to be this big, this scrutinized, does the person responsible feel the weight of the world's eyes, or do they feel nothing at all? We may never know. Cold cases go warm sometimes. DNA technology advances. Deathbed confessions happen. Witnesses come forward decades later. It's possible, but it's also possible this is one of those mysteries that stays a mystery. That Madeleine McCann becomes a name we say when we talk about cases that broke our hearts and our understanding of justice. A case that reminds us how fragile safety is, how quickly a life can disappear, how investigations can fail despite the best intentions, how the truth can be right there and we still can't see it. If there's a lesson in this horror, maybe it's that we owe it to the missing to keep looking, to not let convenience or time or controversy make us look away. Because every missing person is someone's Madeleine, someone's daughter, son, sister, brother, someone who matters, and they deserve to be found. Early on, the investigation focuses on the abduction theory. It has to. A missing 3-year-old, parents frantic, the window open, but who would take her? The Portuguese police explore several angles. 1. A stranger abduction. Predatory. Opportunistic. Someone watching the resort, noticing the McCann's routine, seizing the moment. It's chilling because it taps into every parent's primal fear. Your child isn't safe anywhere, not even 20 feet away. And there's some circumstantial support for this. In the weeks before Madeleine vanished, there were reports of a suspicious man loitering near the Ocean Club. Parents reported a creepy guy watching children at the beach, at the pool. Could he have been stalking Madeleine? Then there's the sighting. Jane Tanner, one of the Tapas 7, says she saw a man carrying a child that night. Around 9:15 p.m., she was walking back to her apartment to check on her own daughter and passed Jerry McCann talking to another guest near 5A. She glanced to her left and saw a man walking away from the McCann's apartment, carrying a young girl in pink pajamas. The girl's arms were hanging down. She looked asleep or unconscious. Jane doesn't think much of it at the time, assumes it's a father carrying his own child to bed. But after Madeleine is reported missing, Jane's sighting becomes a bombshell. She describes the man as white, dark hair, medium build, wearing a dark jacket, carrying a child who matches Madeleine's description. This is 45 minutes before Kate discovers Madeleine gone. Could this be the abductor? The timeline fits. Sort of. But here's the thing. Jerry was right there, talking to someone. How did Jane see this man walk past without Jerry seeing him too? And why didn't the man Jerry was talking to see him? Later, that man, Jeremy Wilkins, says he didn't see anyone carrying a child. The sighting is both the best lead and the most confusing. Does it prove an abduction, or is it a false memory? A trick of trauma and suggestion? Then there's the Smithman sighting, separate from Tanner's. A family from Ireland, the Smiths, are walking home from a restaurant in Praia da Luz. Around 10 p.m. on May 3rd, they see a man carrying a young blonde child, also in pajamas, heading toward the beach. The child's head is against the man's shoulder. The Smiths don't report it immediately. They're on vacation. It doesn't register as odd. But later, when they see the news about Madeleine, they come forward. They describe the man as white, average height, dark hair, wearing light-colored trousers. And here's the kicker. Years later, one of the Smiths says the man looked like Jerry McCann. That detail nearly breaks the internet. Could Jerry have been involved? But wait, the timeline doesn't fit. At 10 p.m., Jerry was at the tapas restaurant, surrounded by witnesses. The whole group was there, panicking, searching. So if Smithman looked like Jerry, but wasn't Jerry, who was he? Or is the sighting misremembered? You see the problem, right? Every lead is a door that opens onto 10 more locked rooms. Every witness statement conflicts with another. And meanwhile, Madeleine is still missing. Let's shift, because about 3 months into the investigation, something changes, something that turns the case inside out and makes it one of the most controversial in modern history. September 2007. The Portuguese police. The PJ named Kate and Jerry McCann as arguidos, formal suspects. The world reels. The parents? Could the parents have been involved in their own daughter's disappearance? It sounds insane, but here's what the police are thinking. They've found something. Forensic evidence, or what they believe is forensic evidence. British sniffer dogs, cadaver dogs, and blood dogs, brought in by British experts. Alert in apartment 5A. One dog trained to detect cadaver scent. Alerts behind the sofa in the living room. The other, trained to detect blood. Alerts in the same spot and in the bedroom. Both dogs also alert in the trunk of a car the McCanns rented 25 days after Madeleine disappeared. To the Portuguese police, this is damning. The theory forms. Madeleine died in the apartment, possibly by accident. The parents panicked, hid the body, staged an abduction, later moved the body using the rental car. It's a theory that fractures public opinion. Some people are convinced. The cadaver dog doesn't lie, they say. Others are horrified. These are grieving parents, they say. How dare you victimize them? But let's look at the evidence critically. What does it actually show? The dogs, Eddie and Keela, highly trained. Eddie, the cadaver dog, has a reputation for accuracy. He's helped solve murders before. But here's the complexity. Cadaver dogs can alert to decomposition scent, even if no body is there. They detect chemical compounds associated with death. Blood dogs detect blood, even in microscopic amounts. But what they don't do is tell you when or how the scent got there, or if it's even human. The apartment, 5A, had been rented to dozens of families before the McCanns. Could someone have died there before? Could there be another explanation for the scent? The Portuguese police say no. They argue the scent is too strong, too specific. But the British experts, who handled the dogs later, say the alerts are not conclusive evidence of death. They're leads, starting points, not proof. And the car, the rental car the McCanns used weeks later. If Madeleine died in the apartment, and they hid the body for 3 weeks, then moved it in a car they rented after she was already missing, where was the body in those 3 weeks? In a freezer? Buried? And why would they move it in a car that everyone knew they'd rented? That was being watched by media and police. It's a logistical nightmare that doesn't make sense unless they're criminal masterminds or incredibly reckless. And nothing else about the McCanns suggests either. The DNA evidence from the car makes things even murkier. Forensic samples from the trunk are sent to a British lab. The results? Inconclusive. The samples are too degraded to definitively say they're Madeleine's. They match 15 out of 19 DNA markers, which could suggest Madeleine, or could suggest any of her relatives, since family members share markers. The lead forensic scientist says the results are not reliable enough to present in court. But the Portuguese police leak this to the media, and the damage is done. The McCanns are suspects. The world judges. So, why would the Portuguese police focus on the parents? There are theories. Some say it's investigative desperation. They've spent months chasing leads that evaporate. The abductor angle is going nowhere. The international pressure is immense. Naming the parents buys time, redirects scrutiny. Others say there's genuine suspicion. Kate's behavior, some say, is odd. She's stoic in some interviews, emotional in others. But here's the thing. How is a mother supposed to act when her daughter is missing? Is there a right way to grieve? Studies show people in trauma respond in wildly different ways. Some shut down. Some can't stop crying. Some seem eerily calm. None of it means guilt. And yet, the court of public opinion convicts based on a tearless interview or a misinterpreted facial expression. The McCanns also make decisions that some find suspicious. They hire a PR firm. They meet the Pope. They launch a massive media campaign. To supporters, this is proactive parenting, doing everything possible to keep Madeleine's face in the public eye. To skeptics, it's calculated. Why are they so polished? Why aren't they in Portugal, searching? But think about it. What would you do if your child vanished and the police seemed to be getting nowhere? Wouldn't you use every tool at your disposal? Or would you sit quietly and hope? There's no manual for this. The McCanns are damned if they do, damned if they don't. By July 2008, the Portuguese Attorney General announces there's no evidence to charge the McCanns. They're officially cleared. The arguido status is lifted. The case is archived, shelved, unsolved. But for the McCanns, the damage is permanent. Half the world thinks they're guilty. The other half thinks they're victims twice over. Once by whoever took Madeleine, again by a botched investigation and trial by media. And Madeleine? Still missing. So what actually happened? Let's walk through the major theories, because this case has spawned dozens, and some are more plausible than others. Theory 1. Stranger abduction by an opportunistic predator. Someone saw the routine, saw the unlocked door, took Madeleine, maybe to abuse, maybe to traffic. Child trafficking is real, though experts say it's rarer than people think. Most trafficked children are not snatched from resorts, but are runaways or taken by people they know. Still, Praia da Luz was accessible. The borders were porous that night. It's possible. Theory 2. Abduction by a local criminal, possibly connected to burglaries in the area. There had been break-ins at the Ocean Club in the weeks before May 3rd. Could a burglar have entered 5A, been surprised by Madeleine, and taken her to prevent identification? It's dark, but it fits the unlocked door, the lack of forced entry. Theory 3. Abduction by a planned predator, specifically targeting Madeleine. This one requires premeditation, someone watching, waiting. But why Madeleine? Was she chosen? Or was she simply the opportunity that presented itself? If this story has haunted you like it's haunted me, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel because we're diving into more cases like this. Cases where the truth hides in the shadows and the questions outnumber the answers. Next up, we're unraveling the disappearance of Brian Schaffer, a medical student who walked into a bar and literally vanished into thin air, despite cameras covering every exit. How is that even possible? Hit the bell icon so you don't miss it. Drop a comment below. What's your theory on Madeleine? Do you think Christian Bruckner is the answer? Or is the truth still buried? And if you found value in this deep dive, hit that like button. It helps us keep chasing these stories. Keep giving voice to the forgotten. Thanks for watching. And remember, in the dark, we keep searching for the light.